Everybody, Eric the Ontarian again. Today I'm going to be talking to you about child support. It's a very controversial subject with regards to the family courts and in public. Either you've been through it and understand it or you don't. I want to talk about it for two reasons. One, for those parents, and I've been there several years ago now, where you're in that dark place, 3 o'clock in the morning, you feel alone, you don't have answers, you don't understand. I don't have all the answers for you. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a dad, second marriage, 2 stepkids, 2 kids of my own. And I just want you to understand how the child support system works in Ontario. It's prescribed, it is very structured, and it is very easy to get the numbers, whether you like them or not. I'm not here to tell you that. I'm here to tell you and explain to you what the courts typically will do to calculate and order family or child support payments. So, the first thing we have to take into an assumption here to move forward is this. 2 people have at least 1 child. In this example that I'm going to use is going to be 2 parents that have 2 children. So the first thing you should do as an Ontarian is go to mysupportcalculator.ca, www. It is free to use and it is accurate. And it is based on the federal guidelines in Canada with regards to child support payments. Things you need to know is that it is not alimony or spousal support, which is paid from one party, one of the divorced persons, to the other divorced persons to help get them to where they need to go in life and to develop and to essentially help recover after the divorce. Alimony or spousal support payments are not guaranteed. They are not for life for the most part. I'll talk about that in a second. A rule of thumb, which does not guarantee this is how it's going to work, and you do need to speak to a family law lawyer to get independent legal advice, ILA, is if you're married for 10 years, for example, spousal support is half of that, 5 years. Typically. Again, it's not a hard and fast rule, but that tends to be the trend or the rule that the courts have gone by. As for child support, one of the things it defines is that the money that belongs to the children. It is the children's money. So the children of the marriage who never asked to be part of any of this, it came into the world as a result of this union between 2 people. They have the right to benefit from the parents. Child support payments with the guideline are calculated based on where the child spends their nights and spends most of their time. Therefore, they look at, out of a custody arrangement, where the child stays and puts their head on a pillow each and every night. We're going, for this example, use 2 adult parents. Parent A makes $150,000 a year. Parent B makes $40,000 a year. You then go to mysupportcalculator.ca and put all of the factors in with regards to when you were married, when you separated, ages of the children, number of children, and then the income amounts. The calculator then looks at the differential in payments. But one of the keys is, where do the children spend most of their time? And you'll see why. If most of the children in this example spend their time with parent A over 90% of the time. In other words, parent B that only makes $40,000 a year only gets them every other weekend. That essentially means that the children are with parent A most of the time. All like full time, we'll call that full time. In the calculation, it says that if the parents are spending, or if the children are spending all their time or most of the time with parent A, parent B, who makes $40,000 a year, needs to pay $597 a month after all the income tax taken off their paycheck to the parent A, who makes $150,000 a year. Let that sink in, because this is the shock that tends to make people get upset, say no in court, say no in mediation, and get their back up. If the children are spending most of the time with one parent, and even though that parent makes more money than the parent that has the children least amount of time, the parent with the least amount of income still has to pay. Most Ontarians will think that even though the children may spend more time with one parent, but that parent has a way better lifestyle and does a lot more things and has a lot more income coming in, that they'll end up not having to pay. The reality is that you will, because it is the children's money and they are allowed to benefit from each parent. Now, for example, where the parent A makes $150,000 and parent B makes $40,000, if it is a shared agreement, then the calculations can then be altered on the MySupport calculator, and they will then have a payment going from parent A, who makes $150,000, to parent B, because the children are at both homes the equal amount of time. Now, there's off support payments where if there were like 65 or 70%, there's different combinations, which is why you need to speak to a family law lawyer with regards to how the courts in that particular area treat certain situations with what percentage of the time children are staying where. This makes it probably the messiest part of a divorce. It makes it the hardest part. Parents wonder how they can make it and live. They have to adapt to a new lifestyle. They may have to sell their home. And the courts, in the end, see themselves as the ultimate parent of the child, where the court's responsibility is for, and this is the coin phrase that is heard all through the family court system, is the best interest of the child. Is it truly in the best interest of the children because they can't stand up and fight for themselves? Yes. Does it mean it's going to be easy for the parents and easy for them to accept and easy for them to turn around and pay? Parent B has to pay parent A money? No. Because here's one of the big downfalls about child support payments in Ontario. And I'll be very open about this, and I'll be very much an advocate for this. There is zero accountability when it comes to the child support payments. Once the payments are ordered by a judge, paperwork is then sent to the Family Responsibility Office, or for short, FRO, F-R-O. The FRO office then sends paperwork to your employer's payroll department. They will then deduct money off of your paycheck after all your dues, the income tax, Canadian employment insurance is taken off. Then they'll deduct the amount of child support off of your paycheck. Child support is not tax deductible for the payer. The recipient of child support does not have to claim it as income. However, there is no accountability for where that money gets spent. And that is one of the biggest downfalls of the system. And currently, right now, I personally am looking for members of provincial parliament who are willing to step up and are willing to put a piece of accountability on this to help Ontario families move past the conflict, which is the most truly the destructive thing for children, for the best interest of the children. If you're watching this video at 2 o'clock in the morning and haven't slept and feel totally isolated and you're in that dark place, know that you're not alone. That thousands of parents have been through this, that thousands more will end up going through this before this is fixed. But please reach out to your member of provincial parliament and let them know that this is unacceptable and that a system needs to be created better, this system needs to be amended to ensure the best possible outcome for the children and protect what it is that is theirs and give them the best opportunity, but also keeping the parents from being thrown into the legal pit of the family court system and then going at each other with the proverbial knives that are fed to them. A movie I'd like you to all watch at some point, if you can find it, is called Divorce Corp. Not divorce court with a T, but with a P, as in corporation. Divorce Corp. Divorce Corp refers to the money-making aspect of the divorce system between the lawyers and those people involved and surrounding the peripheral of the family court process. Education is power. My fellow Ontarians, there's a lot to consider and to go on in this niche market. Approximately 80% of families are able to mediate this out at the beginning and then get an agreement and move on, which is absolutely fantastic. But for that very unfortunate 20% of families of Ontario, 1 in 5 families, they will go through hell. And it is unfortunate. And I'm very comfortable to say this because every single person that is out there, any person watching this video, you either have been through it, are going through it, or know somebody close to you that has gone through it. And then you have to ask the one very simple question. Did you enjoy and get out of the family court process what you would expect and hope in a good and free society? The answer is going to be no. No one enjoys the family court process. It makes the breakup harder. It makes moving on more difficult. And it makes continuing becoming the new independent person and contributing to society that much harder. Now, some advocates of the current system will say, and the argument to a certain degree is valid, we didn't ask families to break up. We didn't ask people to get married. We didn't ask people to have kids. But now it gets dumped in our lap that we have to help sort this out and finish it. They have a point. They have an absolute point. But isn't it interesting that real estate lawyers only get paid after the house is sold? But divorce lawyers get stopped getting paid once the divorce is done and settled and there's no more fighting? I want you guys to ask yourself that question. Because it's very true. And it comes down to what subconscious or conscious motivations are out there with regards to the money-making aspect of the misery that is the breaking down of a marriage. I once told a judge in court, kids lose, lawyers win. That's family court. Was I in a dark place when I said that? Absolutely. Am I better now? Have I moved on? I have a great loving wife and who's my best friend. Yes, absolutely. But I know about what other Ontarians are going to be going through. And that's why I make this video. And I'll be making more videos about this. But I need you to educate yourselves and accept to a certain degree what is coming down the pipe with regards to the prescribed laws and get the legal advice. And it is worth it to get the legal advice. If both you and your ex are in a good place right now, the other best advice I got years ago that I should have heeded better is strike while the iron is hot and get into mediation. And most mediation is subsidized, works on a sliding scale with regards to your income. Get in there, and as long as you're educated about support payments and about division of assets prior to going into mediation, so you know roughly what it is that you should be walking out with, it should be a positive experience. I didn't do that. I saw mediation as a cash grab for my ex, and I said no. And it dragged on for a lot longer than it should have. Hindsight's 2020. But instead of just sitting on it, I'm now sharing my experience with you so that other people don't go through it. Educate yourself. Knowledge is power. Any questions or comments, please feel free to leave a comment below, subscribe, and please, if you know anyone who is going through, or is, especially if they're considering going through the family court process or mediation, have them watch this video. Send them the link and have them watch it. And get them to educate themselves. Thank you very much.